That shit's not even loaded. Which one of you Motor City motherfuckers wants to find out this one ain't? Abby with Motor City Nerds, and we got official Crow announcements, of which makes me sad, but also happy at the same time, because if you know anything about the Crow, you know that's how Brandon Lee passed away. On set, it's tragic what happened to him. Like, that's why I made a video talking about the Crow, and it's based in Detroit. It's one of the things, I was just saying this, how I want to do a video of things that are heavily based in Detroit, and it's an influence in the movie, but isn't centered around Motown, which is, of course, something to be proud of, you know what I mean? But I'm like, how many things do we really have? The Crow, RoboCop, which, where's the RoboCop statue? We need to find that. And then what do we have? 8 Mile, and Four Brothers. But, yes, I'm geeked that they're doing this. I really am. They were going to do a Crow with Jason Momoa. And I was like, oh, cool. But at the same time, I'm like, I think you should maybe leave this alone. It's of a certain time. I feel like if you're younger and you watch it now, you're going to be like, this is lame. But the truth is, no, it's beautifully done. The models are awesome. It's great. It's great. It's great. It's one of the best anti-hero films ever. And since on March 2nd, they announced that we're getting a Crow movie. And Bill Skarsgård's going to play Eric Draven. And if you know the Crow and you know the story, it's very dark. It's very sad. But there's a certain vibe to it, and the artist who did it is from the city of Detroit. It was like a one-off comic, then that got picked up, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful story. It's also the original soundtrack. I don't think anything beats that. Like, there are very few soundtracks with, like, and I'm not talking about the score. I'm talking about the artists that were a part of that before they were big. Go and look at that. Pantera. It's shocking how many people were on that soundtrack. Nails, Stone Temple Pilots, The Cure, Violent Femmes. Did I already say Rage Against the Machine? It's crazy how they got this many. Well, honestly, some of it was before they got really big. But one, it's a great soundtrack, even if you don't know the movie. But it's shocking how good that is. Also, the movie is good. If you don't think that The Crow is a decent movie, you're crazy. It is. It's great. Also, you like how I threw my Crow poster up all quick? I've been meaning to get this framed. My buddy at work gave me that, and the VHS, the original VHS and stuff. So this is like from the 90s and stuff. But yeah, they're saying that they're going to do this. If you know anything about the production of the original Crow, it was full of issues. It was full of problems. And it was just like one thing after another. And Brandon Lee really pushed for that to be made. So it's like, there's kind of like a curse around it. So I'm like, I'd be nervous. I'd be nervous if somebody was like, hey, do you want to come and be in this? I'd be like, should I? Should I? And like I said, they already said they were going to do one, and then they stopped it. And now they're saying that they're doing this with Bill Skarsgård. And I think, let me see who the director is, because that's what had me concerned. Rupert Sanders. Now, I don't know you, sir. I don't have anything against you. I don't know how I feel about this, honestly. I think that people should let it lie. I think that this is not only was this an iconic movie and an iconic portrayal of a character, this is somebody's legacy that it's connected to. You feel me here? Somebody died making this, and it's tragic. So I don't know how, I feel mixed about this. Like I said, I don't feel good about it. I'm like, I should be stoked, but I'm not. And I'm like, I'm not saying that it's desecrating this man who passed away's legacy, but I'm saying that I don't know how I feel about it, and I don't know if they should do it. I really don't. Let's leave that aside right now. But Rupert Sanders, or Sander, he did Ghost in the Shell, and he did, he did something else where I'm like, man, I don't know. There's a vibe to this. Go and watch The Crow. There's the models, the way it's shot. Honestly, I would say The Crow is a perfect example, but it also comes right out of the comic. And since he's from Detroit, it's drawn like Detroit. It's got that gothic, old feel to it. My God, he did Snow White and the Huntsman. I'm sorry, dude. I don't know. I'm sure you're good at stuff. I really am. But the truth is, I don't know. You haven't proven it. You haven't proven it. If these are your biggest names, are Ghost in the Shell and Snow White and the Huntsman, and you want us to trust you with The Crow and with the legacy that has, I don't know how I feel about that. I really don't. Jason Momoa, when they announced it with him, like, yes, he has a perfect look. But like I said, I felt the same way then, where it's like, yeah, I'd love to see The Crow back on screen. That'd be awesome. But there's so much connected to that it's like, victims, aren't we all? Just something, I don't, and I love Bill Skarsgård, but there's something about, it's one of those eerie, weird things that even when you watch it, and knowing Brandon Lee passed away on set, like, not on set, but because of something that happened on set, there's almost like this eerie feel to how almost like he knew something was going to happen. It's weird. Like, when you watch it, it's like, not only is the movie centered around death and about coming back to life and revenge, and it's great, and it's awesome, and it's fucking sick, but I don't want to see this get CGI'd, and I love you, Bill Skarsgård, but like I said, the way Brandon Lee played this role, was so dark and so guttural and so, but when I used those terms, it was brutal but beautiful in the same way. And yeah, does it have 90s cheesy in it with him playing a guitar on a rooftop? Yes. Does it have crazy montages running in the rain? Yes, it does. But it's great. It really is. When you just strip it down, it's great. It's a great revenge story. It's a great story. And like I said, that 1994 one is so iconic and has a certain feel to it that it's like if you try to CGI it, if you try to exactly replicate what Brandon Lee did, which I don't think anybody could, because like I said, there's so many problems with this production, and Brandon Lee just kept saying like, no, let's push forward, we got this, I'll work even harder, and then to have that happen to him was even worse. But like I said, it's eerie watching that portrayal of that character back. It really is. And I just don't know if anybody should touch that. I really don't. Like, I feel like, I mean, he's not like a Marvel character you can cross over or anything like that, but it's like, if he was, that would be, that I might be more okay with, of going like, hey, we're going to dabble him in here and show, but it's like, no, I don't know. I don't think I want this. I really don't. And that makes me sad to say, because I love this character. I do. I love this character. I love this movie. If you're from I say it in one of my other videos, there are movies that if you're born at a certain time, we're going to fight you for, and we're going to go to the mat on fighting about if you tell me it sucks. Boondock Saints, The Crow, Donnie Darko, like those are things that, no, my generation loves those. And if you were alternative or goth or whatever growing up in the 90s into the 2000s and you didn't know The Crow, come on now. I haven't seen anything definitive that says, yes, this is for sure happening, but everything I'm reading is they're speaking as if, yes, it is. Yes, it is. And I'm like, I don't know if this is a good idea. And like I said, just, it's harder when, I don't know, I'm not an actor, but I'm sure it's a lot harder when you are going off of somebody else's portrayal of something. And this is one portrayal that it's like, not only do I think nobody else could have played this role, whether he lived or not. I don't know. I just don't think, I don't think anybody can. I don't. Even Bill Skarsgård, and I got mad love for him, but I don't think he can. I don't. And I don't know if I want to see that. And like I said, I do think that maybe they should just leave it alone, but we'll see. We'll see. Let me spit some info at you guys, because I did make a Crow video back when the Alec Baldwin thing happened, and I watched The Crow every Devil's Night. My mom and dad got married on Devil's Night. The rest of the country and the world doesn't really know what Devil's Night is. I didn't know the history of Devil's Night, so England, we're going to start with you. It started with Guy Fawkes. Crazy, right? I didn't know that, but then it all made sense, and I was like, oh my gosh, this makes total sense. It started with Guy Fawkes. If you don't know who that is, V for Vendetta mask. It's embarrassing that I have to say that, because people don't know things. But it started with that. And Bonfire Night used to happen for an entire week, okay? So the week of Halloween into November. Remember the 5th of November, Bonfire Night. But it used to go for a whole week back in the day in Europe. When people came over and they started bringing their own traditions with them, it kind of got changed everywhere else. And Detroit kept it as Devil's Night, because it was always centered around civil unrest. So over years and years and years and years, Detroit was the only place that kept the night before Halloween as a symbol of, we're unhappy with our government. Other places have Cabbage Night or Mischief Night. No, it's Devil's Night here. You might know it from the D12 album. When I was younger, in the 80s and 90s, it did become something else. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about it kicked back up into a thing during the Great Depression. And during the Great Depression of civil unrest, Detroit started lighting up fires and saying, like, fuck the government, we're pissed off, you fucked us. And it came back. It made a big comeback. Then, after the riots in Detroit in the 60s, the race riots, that's when it came back in force, was we are unhappy with our government, we are unhappy with how we are being treated. And that's when the fires started again. It proceeded to just become a night of chaos in the 80s and 90s. Like, I grew up right outside Detroit. I'm not from Detroit. My mom is. My mom was alive when tanks were going down the street during the riots and stuff like that. But I didn't know that, and I thought that was extremely fascinating. I was like, oh, I grew up on this as you carve pumpkins, you go inside, and you see how high the number is. And it was great. And thinking back on it, it's like, that's crazy. And especially being an adult and being able to look back on that and being like, oh my God. And then they had to establish like Angels Night, where groups of people were going out and saying like, don't do this, don't burn neighborhoods to the ground, stop. In recent years, it is not what it used to be. But like I said, I just didn't know that. And I think that's very fascinating, that out of all the places after people came over from Europe, the only place that kept that tradition was here. And that's why it's called Devil's Night, because of the fires. But like I said, it died down. It was always called Devil's Night, but then during the Great Depression, civil unrest. In the 60s, civil unrest. civil injustice is going on. We are burning things to prove a point and say we're unhappy with our government. And then, like I said, in the 80s and 90s, it became just chaos is what it was. And like I said, it has died down since then. But The Crow centers around Devil's Night. My mom and dad got married on Devil's Night. I watch it every year on Devil's Night. I think every single one of me and my siblings dressed up as The Crow at least twice for Halloween. But yeah, I like to throw that little piece of information out there because I don't think a lot of people know that. I didn't know that. I thought everybody had Devil's Night. I thought everybody called it Devil's Night. And then I found out very quickly that was not the case as I got older. And then I was like, oh. And then after I did my first video about The Crow, because it was Halloween time and we had a tragedy on set with firearms with Alec Baldwin. I talk about it in that video. I'll put it in the description. You can check that out. But yeah, I don't know how I feel about this, and I just threw this together all quick. This took me longer than this recording is taking, which pisses me off. But yeah, I like, part of me is like, yes, The Crow. The other part of me is like, I don't think you should do this. I don't think you should do this. Like I said, not only was that iconic, not only was that portrayal iconic, but this man has passed away, and I think it's hard to go and do a role when you're like, it's not copying, but then it's like, if it's not as good, I just don't want Bill Skarsgård to get shafted. That's what I'm saying here. I don't know if I want them to do this. I really don't. But yeah, I just wanted to bring it up that, yeah, apparently it's happening, and they're acting like it's happening. And I don't know how much backlash this is getting. I don't know if people are happy about it, but it can't rain all the time. And yeah, I think that little piece of information is very interesting, that we're the only ones that kept that tradition going, and that's what it symbolizes, is being mad at your government and going, yeah, fuck you. And that's what I'm saying, like, it started all the way back with Bonfire Night with Guy Fawkes. And it's wild, right? I just think things like that are interesting. But yeah, because I kind of just thought that was the norm. And then as I got older and met people and learned new things and traveled, they were like, what the fuck are you talking about, Devil's Night? And I'm like, you guys, people don't light fires and burn things to the ground. And then people would bring up The Crow and be like, that really happens? And I'm like, yeah. And I like the way they use it in The Crow, because like, that might very well be a part of it. Because in The Crow, it's almost used as leverage with we'll call them the mob. Like they're controlling costs and money and neighborhoods by causing threats and burning them down, things like that. It's very interesting how they use it as a plot in the Crow, and I like it. Also, I have this tattooed on my body, like, it can't rain all the time, and it's great, and I love it. And I could see somebody younger watching it now and being like, this is the cheesiest shit I've ever seen, but it's like, no, this is great. And like I said, it has a feel to it, and I don't know if I trust this. I don't trust this director more than I don't trust Bill Skarsgård. And like I said, just taking on that role in general would be hard. But yeah, I'm not gonna keep repeating myself. Apparently, it's happening. I'm happy with Motor City Nerds. Which one of you Motor City motherfuckers wants to bet this one ain't? Thank you to the new subscribers. Subscribe, comment, like, share. It really helps me out a lot. But yeah, tell me how you genuinely feel if you're a fan of The Crow. Do you want them to do this? Do you want them to do this, or does it make you uncomfortable? Do you want them to do this because you love it, or are you torn like me? Because I'm pretty torn about this. I'm like, I don't know if this should be touched. I don't know if this should be touched. I don't know if it should. And even if people want a new one and whatever, it's like, I don't want them to CGI it. I don't want them to do this. I don't want them to do that. And there's just, you can just feel it when you watch it. There's just and like I said, it does have something to do with Brandon Lee passing away while shooting it. It does. But there's just a feel to it, and if they don't do it right, people including myself will be upset. We will be very upset.